All right, we're going to continue kind of talking about drawing. This is once again a reference from Stan Lee's How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, but it's just a general kind of tips on how to draw. So when you draw faces, at least ones that you want to look traditionally more human, the idea is that there's kind of a reference point. So the idea is that, for instance, the character's eye, use the width of the character's eye as a reference. And if you were to measure the width of my character here, I brought this into just to show you. So it's like, here's the width of, the eye here. If I was to do one, actually, let me do in slightly different colors. Oops. Oh no, let me try that again. So I'm going to take the measurement of the eye. The idea is typically whatever measurement this is, there should be one of those widths between the eye, between eyes. So for instance, like there's this, and so like that distance is roughly the same. Then the eye is another eye length, and then it's about one more eye length to the ears. So for instance, fun with colors. There you go. So it's like, the head is about, 5 eyes wide to about the ears. The other part is this idea that wherever your nose is that there's this idea that there's sort of an I talked about this in the last video, but it's like, if you were to draw an equilateral triangle that goes from the top of the nose through to, the sides of your nose. I'll try to look as dead into the camera as I can so you can kind of see it on my face here. But the idea is that if you want to get the mouth, the tips of the mouth would be right at the ends of the triangle here. The other part is also that if you take from the tip of the nose and do another equilateral triangle, it's like this part of your lip, the part that kind of curls up a little bit, and then it would kind of reach the base of your chin. Okay. Now, of course, all of this is, this is just, you can always go and change this. You're not required to do this, but it's kind of just, this is how a standard, in this case, male proportions would be for their faces. There might be slightly different ones for females or characters. So let's try that out. This is scene 2, faces. So once again, I'm just going to set up, I have a reference layer, then a work layer. I'm just going to set up that sort of reference rectangle here, and I'm just going to draw the lines. Once again, using Command or Control to give me some nice straight lines. Okay. And let's make another reference layer. So let's say I'm just going to draw an eye. I'm going to do that on the work layer here. If you look at our example here, once again, it's like, the eye is about a little bit lower than where the cross happens. So on my example, it should be about there. And I'm just going to draw an eye. You can use whatever brush or color you want. And so the idea is whatever width this is, that's one eye length. Okay. The way I might try to do this is I'm just going to make another sort of reference layer, and I'm just literally going to draw underneath it like a line like this and kind of use it as a reference, I mean, if you wanted to, you could probably literally just kind of copy and paste it 5 times. So it's like, and I might make I'm going to use kind of guidelines here. So it's like, that's one eye length. Oops, wrong way. That's one eye. And then I'm just going to copy and paste. And so that's another eye. I'm just using copy, Command C, Command V to paste this to. So my second eye should be about here. Once again, you can put down some reference guidelines if you'd like. And then, like I said, your face should be about 5 eyes wide. So I should have yet another one that goes to, that's where the edges of the face should be. So once again, I'm just going to copy and paste. Okay. And once again, let me just kind of drag out some reference points. Alright, so the idea is this is where one eye would be. This is the space between the eyes. I'm actually just going to copy. You could draw it again, or I'm just being lazy. I'm just going to copy it. And reverse it. Can I reverse it? Oh, I can use this flip option here. Flip section vertically. That'll be the easiest. Oops, wrong way. Other way. Horizontally. There we go. Alright. I'll kind of use this as a reference to draw. So it's like the ear would start about there. Remember that ears kind of start a little bit above the cross and then kind of, so going back to my reference here, my ear would be about there-ish. Oops. So the side of the face should be about there. The ear is going to be about here. Maybe a little too high there. Maybe a little lower. Alright, let's talk about the nose. I'm going to draw a nose. And remember, so the top of the nose is going to be, once again, I'm going to put on the reference layer here. I'll just do a different color so it's easy to see. I'm using really bright colors so I can understand the references to the actual drawing that I want to do. So I'm going to say the top of the nose is going to be about there. And I'm going to draw the nose. Okay, and the idea is that, and once again I'm just going to draw with this. Oops, I drew the nose actually on the reference layer. Let me fix that real quick. Okay. So the idea is that if I was to draw a triangle that goes this way, follows the bridge of the nose. So I'm just going to draw a line. I'm going to hold down. I'm actually going to draw. Let's draw just. I'm going to hold down Command so I get a nice sort of straight line here. Okay. When I draw my mouth, the tips or the edges of the mouth should hit right about there. Okay. The other one we said is about sort of the middle of your nose, the septum here, would come down and be sort of the edges of your chin. It's also kind of where the lip kind of curls down a little bit. So let's do that. And I'll use green again. So the middle would be about there. I'm going to hold down Command to get sort of a straight line. I kind of want to extend the line just a smidge. Okay. So I'm going to use this kind of as a reference now. So if I draw the mouth, the tips of the mouth should be about there. So if I draw a mouth, this is usually where the bottom, this is kind of where it kind of comes down a little bit. Okay. I might have drawn the eyes a little bit too big. I want to fit it into this kind of setup here, so I'm actually going to shrink this just a smidge. So it kind of fits in here. There we go. That's a little bit better proportion. Alright, so you can kind of see this follows this. This goes right through the middle. This hits the chin. Ears are a little high. I'd probably bring it down a smidge. Once again, this kind of, this is this is animation, so some of it is also how much exaggeration do you want. We'll talk about that with character design. Maybe that's a little bit better. There we go. And then top of the head. Okay, maybe a little lower. Should probably be about. There we go. Alright, turn off my references. So that's like a good, oops, I accidentally drew some on there. I had to fix that. But, that's a good starting place. Okay, I missed it be a little bit higher on the edges here. But good proportions, the eyes to the side of the face, to the nose, to the lips, this is good proportions. Okay, so try that out. Try opening up scene 2. Like I said, try drawing just a kind of a rectangle like this. Try measuring things out if possible. You can just literally, you can use that. There's also a measuring tool if you just literally want to draw a line and measure it. Give you the width, and then you can draw another one to make sure it's exactly the same width up here. Whatever you want to do. I'm just kind of lazy, and I just kind of do it with these lines. But anyway, would work for you. All right, try that out.